Going live. This is our inaugural live stream. So, we are an on-your-lot builder. We can build on your lot or ours. We have pre-construction listings and lots available. We can build from a range of our pre-designed stock plans going all the way to complete custom from scratch. And we can work directly with our clients, with the designer, straight with the designer.
And also, I'm Richard Wettermann, and this is Kurt Wettermann, and we're Wettermann Homes. We should start there, probably.
We're just going to dive right in. We listen to all these live streams where they have a lot of fluff.
Yeah, usually it's who we are and what you do, but we're what you do and who you are.
Yeah. So this is mostly an interactive thing. This is our inaugural live stream. So we're shooting from the hip a little bit, but we did a little planning and a little shoot from the hip. So what you see is what you get. We're pretty straightforward. So this will be recorded, so we will also repost it on all of our platforms. We are going across all platforms: Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We will be getting TikTok and LinkedIn up, but they have barriers to entry on that. So I'll be doing it from my personal and not from the Wettermann Homes accounts on that. That's neither here nor there, but it is here or there. Our overview of our business between how and what we do is we're a cost plus flat fee builder. It's kind of a hybrid niche, and so ultimately we're totally customizable. Again, we do have different pricing matrices. We adjusted that to a good, better, best style, meaning we do have a base price, mid-level price, and then fully upgraded price depending on your tastes and budget. And so we can accommodate almost everybody's taste.
And and to the good, better, best is not an indication of quality. It's just the amount of options or upgrade that you want to do. So if you go, for the good package, that doesn't mean you're going to get less quality. You might just not get what we previously deemed as a standard option that some people may or may not want to have. For example, closets are a big thing. Those can go from best to, completely extravagant and can get quite expensive. So to give people the option if they were price sensitive in some cases that we wanted to say maybe, you could remove that, or if you wanted to get vented wire or something like that, you're free to do so. We're not going to be living there, so it's not really up to us. So we wanted to make that option available.
Yeah, we kind of joke, we could care less what you put in the house. It's completely up to you. How much money you got, and then again, we can accommodate any style. We do a lot of budgets for a lot of the finishes. For example, cabinets, countertops, flooring, that kind of thing. We have established budgets with our trade partner where you go into their showroom and select that. We do not care. And so ultimately, we're not, with the base pricing, we're not going to start you out with a selection of 5 tiles. Our trade partner knows the budgets, and they work with you to look in the showroom. As far as the construction, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the scheduling or anything like that. If you pick a different finish, it strictly comes down to budget. And so ultimately, that's where we like to provide a lot of latitude. And we rely very heavily on our trade partner that handles all that. Again, they have the showroom and the partner, what would you call that? The showroom.
Design showroom?
The design consultant, excuse me.
Yep.
They'll help walk you through all that, and they can pick other scopes that they don't actually handle, like electrical and plumbing fixtures and paint colors, and coordinate all the colors and shingle color and stone facade and all that as well. So.
And that gets into a difference between us and some other builders is that, as Kurt mentioned, for example, flooring. We don't give you 5 options of flooring. We give you a budget. We say, okay, for our, let's say, Bedford 3 model, we have X amount of dollars allocated to flooring. And so you can go in and choose whatever flooring you want. And that would be, what they would call level 4. So we've determined that at that budget, you get the most amount of options without pricing ourselves out of the market. And so that goes with other scopes, cabinets, counters, tiling, and then that gives us flexibility. It gives the client a lot of flexibility. as far as what they want to choose. And so that's why, as Kurt said, that we really don't care. We kind of say that jokingly, but because we've set up our business model that way, that it really doesn't matter to us. So when a client goes into the design showroom and picks out their colors and their finishes, you know, we have the paperwork that shows what it is, but it really doesn't matter to us.
So really what this comes down to is we're really talking about budget and the business model. We can get in the weeds on selections and stuff like that, but because we have a cost plus flat fee never to adjust, you can save money on the flooring selections as an example, or you can spend $100,000. Our cost to help you build that home doesn't change. We're not doing a cost plus if you increase your budget for the flooring. That is what it is. It's what we call a pass-through with our trade partner. That's very important to understand the nomenclature of how we operate with our relationship with our trade partners, that you're not being charged a cost plus for that. You're paying us a fee to build the house. That is what it is. Now you might have some price adjustments where we might have cost overruns and things like that. That's a real-time, we have real-time consumer or CRM software that we update all that. As we're doing a live stream, we're going to pivot over to questions. We do get questions real time. And so I think somebody asked, what advice would you give to somebody to choose the right builder for their dream home in Florida? Boy, that's the question there.
We're wondering the same question.
So ultimately, we're all different as builders. So on one spectrum, you have full track builders, meaning they're mass production. There's really very limited flexibility. And there's a service there with the, we'll say, lack of flexibility, meaning that they can offer a much lower price because they're streamlining their systems. And so there's a dramatic cost savings there. And then on the other spectrum, you have full custom builder, where you're paying probably a premium to have that builder walk you through every step of the process. There's a cost there for that infrastructure, for that builder. And so we're kind of a hybrid where we have stock plans where we've replicated that plan and we've shaken out as much cost as we can. And we're flexible to change those plans. And of course we can do custom. Now our business model is moderately restricted on the size, meaning we don't really have the experience for a 15,000 square foot home. That is a huge custom project, and our trade base really isn't tailored to that because we're more of the semi-custom, but we do full custom. And again, stock plans. If you're like, nope, that's exactly what I want, we can pump that out. And so it comes down to your budget. Do you have land? And we can walk you through the due diligence on that with clients. We do that all the time. We have pre-construction listings where we've done the due diligence on the lot, and we build a lot in wetlands areas, so we've extensive experience with that, going through that process, which can be grueling. And so really comes down to budget. What is your budget? Do you have land picked out? Do you need that help? So to choose the right builder,
I think part of it too is, and this is a lot more variable, it's kind of a gut instinct. I mean, first of all, do they pick up the phone? And these sound like basic questions, but in real estate, it's always kind of funny because Kurt and I are realtors as well, is that when we return a call right away, people are very thankful. Like, thank you for calling me back. And I always kind of have a chuckle with realtors. It's like, that's where we are in this business, either being in real estate, being a realtor, or in construction, is when somebody calls you back or answers the phone, they feel like they invented fire. And it's like, wow. That's kind of the barometer we've set. It's a pretty low barometer, but that's one of the things, because if a builder or a realtor or anybody, picks up the phone right away or calls you back within a reasonable amount of time, 24 hours, I think is fairly reasonable. That should give you a pretty good indicator of the relationship you're going to have moving forward, especially in the construction business, because this will be, 6 months to a year relationship where you're working with somebody. Are they going to pick up the phone consistently if there's a problem, or do they update you? Do they give you information regularly? And sometimes these are things you can see right off the bat. Even talking with somebody, getting a good gut feeling, listen to those instincts. Whether it's a builder that has model homes, or you're just meeting somebody, or just talking with them on the phone. Do you get a good vibe? We've had several clients who have worked with builders in the past, and I mean, horror stories that just, the types of problems or the expectations weren't properly set. And so, those aren't quantifiable things as far as, and Kurt was talking about, as far as budget and floor plans and, mapping out the process of building. That's another thing too. Are they transparent? We're very transparent as far as laying out, here's the construction schedule, here's the budget, here's the line items for each scope, material, and labor. So you see those things right off the bat. So getting a good gut feeling, so
it comes down
I say
to
picking up the phone, but it's communication.
Ultimately, yeah, when we're looking at it, it's communication. There's several factors in communication, like Richard said. Once we sign the contract, our relationship begins. And so we understand that this is the largest investment most people are going to have in their lives. So at a minimum, we appreciate that somebody's going to be investing $1.5 million in us. And so communication is really one of our key factors that we invest in. As an example, with our CRM software, our budgets are updated real time. The client can see that. The client can see the schedule real time. Those are updated as we move along. They can see that. We have cameras, on-site security cameras. So one of our clients lives out of state. It is imperative that they be able to see real time, that they be able to see the job site. So we have cameras on every job site. Ultimately, we've developed our business model where what are the questions that the client is going to consistently ask us, where they can go and check that out real time, and they don't have, not that they don't have to rely on us, but they can take the bull by the horns and be updated as they want. All of our permitting in Central Florida, a lot of that is done online so clients can see that as well. And so ultimately, when you're choosing the right builder, what this also comes down to as well is I did lose out on a client because our pricing was a little different. So as I understand it, our pricing was a little higher. But my question would be is, are we comparing apples to apples? Because as we allocate budgets for cabinets, countertops, and flooring and things like that, our budget might range $50,000, where we can come off that $50,000, but how do we know? And so, again, to answer your question about to find the right builder in Florida is, I often talk to clients as a licensed contractor builder in Central Florida. If I was going to go build a home outside of my realm, let's say Phoenix and Scottsdale is one of my spiritual places. If I was going to build a home there, what would I do? And ultimately, I would spec everything out. So I would know 2 or 3 builders, talk to them, find out if we're emotionally a fit, and then business-wise, are we fit? Hey, here's exactly what I want. And ultimately, to get the best price, the best value dollar for dollar, and go about it that way. So I hope that we answered that question very succinctly and very quickly. I know that wasn't a quick answer, but it is really one of the questions that we get a lot, and there's a lot to it. So hopefully we were able to answer that question, but we wanted to take some time because ultimately it is who we are, and it enables us to answer the question and to find out if we're a fit and if any other builder is a fit as well.
And to put to wrap that up, and again, we can go into more detail if you have any more specific questions, is that ask a builder what their service is like after the build, or what kind of customer service do they provide after you've already moved into the home. And a lot of times it's, you have the certificate of occupancy, which we call the CO. Once you have the CO,
we skip town.
Yeah, check clears, and so does the builder. And so, there are warranties in place. There's a minimum standard warranty in the state of Florida.
So it's a 1-2-10. We're required. I love this, by the way. When and we put it on our on the standard features brochure is we're required by law to have a 10-year structural warranty. Every builder in
and it's
Florida.
called a 1-2-10, correct?
Well, the 1-2-10 is a 1-year workmanship, or 1-year materials, 2-year workmanship, 10-year structural,
Mm-hmm.
and so
you'll hear that.
Yes,
standard
that's
line.
what that means, and then so there might be variations between builders. I had a client; they had a roof leak after 3 years. Of course, I'm going to go in and take care of that. These clients, all clients, are very special to us now. if you're dropping stuff on your roof and it's it's on,
You're not throwing parties up there.
Yeah,
So,
let's be reasonable.
To wrap up that question, for us, we do after the build is complete. I have, and this is something I do in real estate too, is a 3, 6, 9, 1 year. So 3 months follow up with them, regardless if there are issues. If something comes up, we'll obviously address that right away. But there's a standard 3 months, 6 month, 9 month, a year. I send them a text or a call, whichever they prefer, just to say, hey, just checking in, how's everything going? And then after a year, it's every year. And so I put that in my phone. I put it 3 or 4 years out that on this day when they close, I will text them or call them just to follow up. Currently, right now, I think we're on year 5 with a client. And so, yeah, I just send them a text like, hey, happy 5-year anniversary in your home. Hope everything's all well. Let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything we can do.
And most of that next home.
And every time they've been, no, everything's great, and we're doing well here. So, but you have good relationships with clients.
Yep.
Here's the secret: when you have good relationships with clients, when you keep in touch with them, not avoiding their calls.
And we do have our issues. Concrete driveways crack. So we're constantly evolving as well, and we are constantly evolving as far as the communication. And so we're gonna plow ahead here. That was a really good question. It does take a lot of time. Rest assured, this is going to be a monthly thing, so we'll have our contact information. You can always ask us questions after the fact. We just love doing the live stream and stuff like that. So this is an evolution here. And so,
I hope we built ourselves up enough there, patted ourselves on the back. So.
Maddie, did you have other questions there?
I just populated one.
Okay. Another question. How much should someone allocate to land cost versus build costs? How do you determine if land value makes sense for a particular build? There are percentages historically that people said, you might say 10% of the build or 20% of the build as far as land cost. Ultimately, the way we have looked at it is, how much can you get financed for? So we don't look at the initial land cost. We look at, what are you looking to build? What is your budget? As an example, let's say that we'll use a lower number of 500,000. That's my max budget. Usually comes in at $600,000 or $700,000. We know we can build our Bedford 2 model for, again, I'm just coming up with numbers, 500,000. And so ultimately that backs out your land cost. You got 100K if your budget is 600,000, and then so we'll go that way. So we don't start with land cost. That's kind of putting the cart before the horse. We'll start out, what are your desires, and then what is your budget, and we'll back it out that way. For us, it's fairly simple. And then so based on our experience also, we know land cost is just the beginning. We build in areas where they're low-lying and or require wetlands mitigation and analysis and things like that. The great excavation, grading, and fill. As an example, in an area, Wedgefield here in Central Florida, which are basically raw lots, after you buy the land, between the grading, fill, and excavation, utilities, well, septic, you could be looking at $100,000 to get the property up to start to build, aside from your construction costs. So your lot cost may be $50,000, $100,000, but now you're $100,000 additionally to that. So those are considered. Now, we have those in our budget specifically for Wedgefield, so those costs are included. So if we say the Bedford 2-3 model is going to be $600,000, ultimately you only have to look at your lot costs, because we've already factored that in based on our experience. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully it helps. If there's a follow-up to that or you need any more clarification, please submit a question. What is the biggest benefits of building a semi-custom instead of buying a pre-built? Now, I'm very nuanced in the nomenclature when we're discussing these kinds of things. And so let me clarify that. When you say semi-custom home, I automatically go to, well, as opposed to production style or custom, and you may not mean that. You may mean new construction as opposed to pre-existing. If not, I'm redefining the terms, and then we'll go there. So building or building new construction as opposed to buying existing, we'll say the only detriment is time. Ultimately, if you can wait and you have the budget, there's really no reason to buy existing. Now, I'm being a little
Yeah, we're
overindulgent.
pushing it in our favor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not in sales. So ultimately, you're getting a brand new home. It's customizable with us. And so let's pivot back to what you should look to in a builder. Some builders allow certain levels of customization. And so it's a wide variety. And so ultimately, we're amenable to whatever you want to do. And so again, it comes down to your budget, what's your budget, and then let's work within those constraints and see what we can do for you. And so coming back to the new construction versus existing, you have obviously a lot more latitude with new construction because you can do what you want. If it's within your budget, you can do what you want. If it's within, again, your budget and the buildable area, let's throw that caveat in there as well. And so you can pick your finishes and things like that. You can make adjustments to the floor plan. Structurally, we don't care structurally. Structurally, you need to allocate a little bit more time because then we need to go back to redesign, re-engineer, truss engineering, sometimes HVAC calcs and stuff like that. So there are circumstances where you need to consider that when you're making revisions to the plan. But you also get the warranty with the new construction. And so again, it's the time factor of why you wouldn't. If you need to get into a house next month, then new construction that might not be a fit for you. And so hopefully that answered your question. If that did not, and you had specific questions about semi-custom versus a pre-built one, if I'm using the wrong nomenclature, please message us again and send that question if we can answer some.
And our last question of the day is going to be, what should homeowners know about building in Central Florida communities with HOAs? Don't? No, I'm kidding. We've had experience in both. And so now because we are a smaller, I would say semi-custom production build, where we can build can be limited because some communities will have restrictions on the builders they allow in. They need to be vetted, things of that nature, which is completely understandable, especially with your high-end communities. You need to have a portfolio, you need to be interviewed, things of that nature. And then, for example, if it's a community that they don't have a restriction on building, they will have restrictions on how big a house or how small a house needs to be. Colors. We built in one community where they were very strict on the types of vegetation and trees that they wanted in there. So you have to.
I remember that one.
Yeah. We'll go into that.
We can have a horror stories live stream some other time.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in our next mixer. And so we had to. You have to go with an arborist, and you have to submit a landscaping plan, and that has to be cleared by the sub HOA, because there's a master HOA and then there was a sub HOA.
Yep.
And so,
let me pivot on that and just come back to what should homeowners know about. Let's kind of bring it back and take an overall view. With an HOA, because we get clients all the time calling, I don't want an HOA. So ordinarily we're an on your lot builder. That's technically what we're considered because we don't build in PUDs, which are planned unit developments. And so meaning we're not developing big swaths of land. So ultimately, where we tend to build has a lot of latitude, meaning there's very little restriction. And like Richard said, we have built in communities that require specific features and finishes. That's ultimately what you need to know about the HOA if you're going into community. What restrictions that they institute over the construction of the project. Size, aesthetics, vegetation. We had to dig up trees one time. Anyways. So really it's not how restricted, but how much latitude do you want in building a new home? If you're willing to build within the restrictions and confines or the covenants of the community, it can be very advantageous because the HOA, ultimately their goal is to keep the community nice and the betterment of the community. And that just
to remove outliers.
Right. And so, yeah. Whatever that means to you or every community. And so ultimately it's, do you want to build within the confines and the covenants of that community? If that's a fit, then it can be very advantageous because those communities are they're a lot more well kept. There's a lot more restrictions / requirements, but that benefits the community as well. Some people don't like that. As an example, when we build in the community of Wedgefield, we have several clients that want to build a detached garage that have high entry points, 14 foot, because they want to put in a jacklift for cars or anything like that, offset from the house. Obviously, in your HOAs, number one, you don't have the space, but number two, you can only build certain style accessory dwelling units, they're ADUs. And so those people are more adept at building outside the HOA. So it's the restrictions. We often hear about you can't put up a flag or you can't park your boat here or there. Yeah, there's those restrictions. And so ultimately it comes down to what's your level of tolerance for the covenants. That's really what we're talking about.
And how general or specific you want your floor plan or build to be. For example, in Wedgefield, there's a lot of people there who have additional vehicles. They can build separate structures that house either a boat or cars. So if you are just looking, hey, I just want a nice community, I'm not looking for anything additional, an HOA typically wouldn't pose a problem for us as far as the build. The people who run the HOA, that's a whole different problem that we won't get into. That's, as realtors and everything, everybody has their stories about dealing with that. So that would be something we would recommend looking at ahead of time and, tour the community. We have a pretty good grasp on where we build and the type of latitude that you have. So it really comes down to what your vision is and what you're looking to build. And pretty much that's a good starting point.
And so, kind of touching upon that too, where do you build? So we are in Central Florida, state of Florida, Central Florida. And so what that encompasses is technically our build radius is in the county of West Volusia. It's Volusia County, but technically it's, well, not technically, but geographically it's West Volusia, Seminole County, Orange County, most of North Osceola County. And we're able to move into what would be East Lake County. So as a geographic area to consider, that's what we can do. And so we're a state licensed contractor. So ultimately we can build anywhere in the state of Florida, but as far as logistics and geographics, that's where we build to answer that question as well.
And the main reason for that is because that's where we've established our base of contractors. Not only that, but reliable contractors that we've used several times. So if somebody's like, hey, could you build just a bit outside this zone, say, for example, Westlake County, it's like, well, that totally depends on our base of contractors. Technically we could, but if 2 or 3 of our contractors are like, sorry, we don't go out there, then that requires a lot more time and investment to vet and do that.
For sure.
So.
And the money's got to be right. We joke about that. So we like to joke around. This business and the course of construction can be very stressful. Puts a lot of like we said before, it's a large investment. So ultimately, those people who know me personally, they probably see this and like, oh my God, he's serious. But we do like to bring some brevity to this business because it can be stressful enough as it is. So we're going to wrap this up because we do like to keep it short and succinct. And so we'll have text reminders. We send out blast text, blast emails. We'll be sending this out on social media. This is on my personal. We also have Wettermann Homes social media accounts across platforms. We're working through that because of the youth of our Wettermann Homes social media. We're working to get those platforms up with live stream, but we will do this on my personal platform right now. You can DM us, email. We'll get all of every profile that we have is public, so you can DM us, email. There'll be phone numbers that you can text. Everything is textable, email, call, message, whatever. Communication is what we strive to better ourselves at. And so all of those platforms, we're working on TikTok and LinkedIn. So ultimately, we don't want to restrict it. Just want to be
working
everywhere.
on getting those profiles set up.
Yeah, for a live
only
stream.
Working on those.
Yeah. In addition, thank you.
Yeah,
That's why I love the live stream, because we can correct real time.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. This is our closing statement. Thank you for joining, everybody, and we will see you. We're going to have another one. We'll probably in another week or two, and then we'll follow up with monthly live streams. But again, in the meantime, always contact us. Again, on any social media platform that you're on, we receive those messages and respond. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.